here we are, day 3, class number 3, developing your spiritual immunity, and that's actually what we are going to be talking about today. And I'm just excited to keep going and really super pleased that you guys are all here with us. So we're here with me today. How do you feel after we did all the emotional work yesterday? That was kind of intensive. We're going to do some more tomorrow that's actually a little bit deeper. So get ready. I hope you had a chance to process your feelings, because tomorrow we're going to go a little bit more deep into the whole how do we deal with our feelings things. Today we're going to talk about really our spiritual immunity, and we're going to work with our immune system kind of on a bunch of different levels. So physical, emotional, energetic, how do we understand that? And this is an interesting class, so I'm going to give you a lot of information. And some of it is scientific information, some of it is channeled information, some of it is, I don't know, my own experience or my own feeling about things. And I want you to be, because I'm not a doctor, so there's like a big medical disclaimer here. I want you to really, as we go through this stuff that we're going to talk about today, to really run everything through your own truth meters, through your own system, do your own research on these things that I'm talking about. If I talk about something that kind of strikes your fancy and you feel like you want to learn more about it, do your own research. So I just feel like we have to have like a proactive and empowered stance, and, you know, take what I say with, I wouldn't say with a grain of salt, but like a little bit of, you know, a little bit, is that true for me? Is a really good, do I think that's true? Is that true for me? Is a really good way to come into this class, especially today's stuff. So I'm like a person who, I have theories about things, and I can often hold more than one theory at a time. So I can believe like multiple reality, like I can believe what the medical people say, and I can believe what the energy medicine say. I can sort of believe what the conspiracy theorists say, parts of it, and even if they're really different, I can find the pieces of that work for me in a kind of harmonious way. That's what I want you guys to do right now for this class. So I also, part of my Facebook Live series that I'm doing that you guys are all getting, you should be getting as a bonus for this class, we'll be talking with my friend, Dr. Patty Zub, who's a functional medicine doctor, and she's going to talk more about the actual doctory stuff. She's actually a doctor, and she's going to give you information about how to support your immune system in a real medical kind of, the actual sciencey kind of way. So you can, I'm not going to get too much into that. I'm going to really leave that part of the conversation to her. And she's got some great ideas. She's had many, many years as a Western medicine doctor, where she was an internist and ran a family practice like 20 years. And now she works as a functional medicine doctor. So she's going to give us that information. And I think that we basically know what to do, right? We know that living a healthy lifestyle is good for your immune system. And that might mean eating right, eating a clean diet high in fruits and vegetables. I think it's super important to eat organic if you can. It's really hard now, but if you can, and to take the chemical load out of your body, because having a lot of chemicals in your body is really not great for your immune system. We know getting a lot of sleep is important for our immune system. We know plenty of fresh air and exercise is good. Meditation or whatever you're doing to relieve your stress is super important for having a healthy immune system. And we know that there are certain supplements that we need to take that activate our immune system now too. So I think that we've heard that taking vitamin C is really good right now at this point. I think that it's important to take a complete mineral supplement too, because I think generally speaking, we're very demineralized, because we should be getting our essential minerals from soil, and our soil's very demineralized. So when I do, like, I'm a pretty good medical intuitive, and when I do medical intuition for people, I find almost everyone, like 80% of the people that I tune into, are demineralized in some way, and that you should be taking a very high quality vitamin and mineral supplement. And I prefer for myself liquid because I feel like they're more absorbable, and seaweed because they're less toxic. But do what, that's where I'm saying you got to do what works for you. We know that eating, drinking a ton of water is very helpful. And I actually wanted to do like a little side conversation here to teach you guys how to bless your water. Because I don't know, like it's same thing works for food. I think it's just a really good skill to have. It doesn't matter if you have Reiki or not. And I do this when I am eating food that I don't feel like came from you're at on the highway at the highway exit restaurant or whatever fast food there is, and you don't have a lot of choices, so you have to kind of eat what's around. Or if you're traveling, like sometimes we just have to eat stuff that maybe isn't normally what we like to eat. And I think this kind of blessing and this water blessing and food blessing is very beneficial. So basically what you do is you take whatever water container you have. I've done this on like super flimsy water bottles that feel like kind of, maybe they don't have the best water in them because they've been like plastic leached into them or whatever. But whatever I'm doing, and if you hold it with both hands and you kind of put it near your heart, if you have Reiki, you can turn your Reiki on, and if you don't, you can do it anyway. And so you want to kind of begin the grounding stuff that we've talked about, where you put your feet on the ground, you do some breathing, you breathe into your heart, you breathe into your belly, you get your feet, activate your grounding cord. And you want to then, breathe. So here's how I do it. Let's just imagine we're going to do it together. So I breathe in the top of my head, and I exhale down my legs and out the bottoms of my feet, just connecting to the ground. On the next inhale breath, I breathe up the front part of my body into my heart, and I fill my heart. And then on the exhale breath, I let that overflow into my arms and down my arms and into my hands. It's a kind of breathing called the microcosmic orbit. And it's like a Chinese medicine or Qigong kind of way to breathe. So if you've heard about it that way, that's what it is. Also, if you have Reiki, it will activate your Reiki in a very powerful way, because this is how Reiki energy flows through us naturally. So let's do that again, okay? So what you do is you breathe light in the top of your head, you breathe to your heart. You exhale down the back of your spine and out the bottoms of your legs. Connect to the ground. Inhale up the front part of your body into your heart. And then on the next exhale, you blow out your hands, you blow out your arms and into your hands. So you're basically filling the water or food. You can do it with food too, if you do like this. And what you're doing is you're infusing it with the energy of your heart, and sort of attuning it to our own frequency, to our own vibration. And sometimes I just bless it, like you can use any kind of blessing that comes from any religion you believe in or belong to, or you can use Reiki, you can put Reiki symbols in it. And for me, the blessing is really about gratitude. Like, I'm really grateful. Thank you, water, because we know from the work of Dr. Emoto that water holds our intention, it holds thoughts, it holds frequency. So before we take in water, we want to really attune it to our own vibration and lift its vibration with gratitude. That's what I use, gratitude, because I think it's one of the highest frequencies we have. Thank you for the water. Thank you for this beautiful, pure water, thank you for this food. And I used to live in Japan, and in Japan, before anyone eats, they say itadakimasu, which is a food blessing, and it means thank you for the food that I have. Thank you for the person that served the food. Thank you for the person that cooked the food. Thank you to the person that grew the food and delivered it to the market. Like the whole chain of all the way through, that blessing and gratitude goes all the way, which I think is really great. And I bring this up because, as I said, when we have a chemical load on our body through toxins in our food or water, it really impacts our immune system. It really can, and especially over time, we live in sort of a toxic soup in the world right now. We have environmental toxins, we have EMF radiation and other kinds, which we're going to talk about a lot today. We have like the toxins in our chemicals in our bodies. It's like very difficult. And the more sensitive we are, the more of an impact that has on us, by the way. So the more, if we go back to the spongy energy field that we all have as empaths, you can see why we have sort of more this, some people, that the non-empathic people of the world, their energy bubble is so strong that they could like walk through nuclear radiation and just be like, whatever, like it just kind of bounces off of them. And that's not always true for us sensitive types. So we need to work on creating a bigger shield, and we need to really, which we're going to do a particular meditation today to work with the outside edge of our energy field in a really powerful way. And we also need to kind of really align with our environment to the best possible way that we can. So try blessing your food and your water and see how you do it, okay? And here's a couple of theories. So I'm going to start just by talking about these theories, and these are the ones that I want you to take with a grain of salt. See if they resonate for you. If they don't, let them go, because then not all of them will. But they're interesting theories, so take them that way. So I love this guy, Dr. Jerry Tennant. He's got a big clinic down in Texas, and he has some really breakthrough ways of looking at healing work. And one of the things he says is that we need a few things that we don't always get. We need adequate nutrients, which we don't always have, especially in the world that we are in now. And then we also need adequate voltage. And what I mean by voltage is it's the electricity, actually the electromagnetic energy that we think of as electricity, that our cells need to divide and reproduce themselves correctly. So when cell division happens, which is how we renew our cells, there needs to be a certain amount of voltage inside of the system to make that happen. It's like literally an energetic current, an electromagnetic energetic current that we need for that. And our body has a certain amount of voltage to it all the time anyway. And you can think about the movie The Matrix, classic movie where they talk about how the human body creates a certain amount of voltage, and we're sort of basically like a battery. Well, that's true. And we get voltage through exercise, through the sort of piezoelectric movement of our muscles creates voltage. We get voltage when we take our shoes off and put our bare feet on the ground. We connect to the voltage of the planet. And then we also get voltage we can get voltage from outside sources. So things like lasers, cold lasers. Dr. Tennant invented basically like a cold laser that he calls the biomodulator. It's sort of like a TENS unit, if you've ever heard of that. Eileen McCusick, who's another person we're going to talk about her work a lot tonight, she uses tuning forks, and she creates voltage by sliding the tuning fork along the skin and using resonance to create and stimulate voltage in the body. So Dr. Tennant, if you want to add more, if you want to learn more about that, it's fascinating work. He wrote a book called Healing is Voltage, and he talks a lot about, gets into the science. So he was a doctor, he was an optometrist, and his book is really interesting if you like hardcore science, but he gives you all the science of that. And if you look into the science of longevity, which is kind of a big thing now, you'll see that this idea of voltage comes through a lot in the science of longevity. And Eileen's new book, which isn't out yet, is all about voltage too, and how we heal ourselves by increasing our voltage. And she talks about two kinds of voltage. One of them is the electromagnetic current that we run through our body, but also our ability to absorb photonic energy, light energy, which so our body kind of runs on the electromagnetic current, and also by absorbing photonic energy through sunlight. And that's also very healing. That's the work that Tom Palladino does with Scalar. We're going to talk about him too. So the other thing, there have been many different people who have created devices that can introduce the proper voltage into our system. Hulda Clark is one of them, and she was a brilliant healer a while ago in sort of the mid-century. and she was completely radical, seemed completely radical at the time. She built an electrical device that she called the Zapper. And you hold on to these two rods, I think they're like copper rods, and it run this machine, her Zapper runs a very mild electrical current through these things that you hold, and it adds current to your body. And what she discovered was that certain pathogens are destroyed with certain frequencies of electricity, and so her Zapper has settings to it, like bacteria cleanse, parasite cleanse, viral cleanse. And it's super interesting because it kills funguses, viruses, even retroviruses like herpes, Epstein-Barr virus, and coronavirus. And also the sort of funguses that we don't really want, like Candida in our body, and parasites like Lyme. So I know a lot of people who have very, very successfully treated their Lyme disease and these other pathogenic borne problems that we have through these applications of these electrical devices. There's one called a Rife machine that was invented. He was a German called Mr. Rife, and he also has one too. And there are many, many other newer ones that are available, like Dr. Tennant and his biomodulator. And I have used one extensively myself called the OnDemed, which is also from Germany. And the OnDemed machine uses sound frequency. So sound is the other thing that can be very effective at killing pathogens. And there has been an enormous amount of research. So now what I'm talking about is actual science-y research. So I'm going to try to tell you what's what here. This is actual science. Where where there's a doctor who has identified the sound frequencies that kill, I think it's like 250 different forms of cancer. And he's done it by experimenting with cancer cells in a petri dish. So he puts the cells in, and he has a sound generating machine, just like an amplifier, and he plays up through the megahertz, one notch at a time, and he will always find one that breaks the cell. So on a virus or a cancer cell, which is sort of viral in a lot of ways. Cancer is like more intelligent and more complex than a virus, but a virus is pretty simple organism. It has a hard protein shell around that's sort of held together by lipids or fats, and in the center of that's a little bit of RNA, DNA stuff that creates how the virus replicates itself. And these sound frequencies, certain sound frequencies, what they do is they break or shatter the electrical bonds that hold the outer, in this case of a virus, the outer shell of the virus together, effectively killing the virus, or the same thing with a cancer cell. And he has some really compelling research. I can't think of his name right now, but I will get it to you and think about it. So there are a lot of people who are working on these kinds of illnesses and therefore helping our immunity by using electrical current, sound, and frequency, energy waves to deal with this. It's super interesting stuff. And if you dig around, you can kind of go down like the rabbit hole of YouTube videos and TED Talks and all kinds of things if you want to look up this stuff. And I encourage you to do that because I find it super, hopeful at this point in time. Others of you may be looking at essential other antiviral agencies which seem to be very helpful. So essential oils have been working for a lot of people. Thieves oil, On Guard, oregano oil, if you like those. And they do kind of a similar thing. They break the chemical bonds of the virus. They create an environment that's inhospitable for the virus to live in. And I don't know if I would, totally rely on that alone, but I do think it's part of our arsenal of tools we have as we're beginning to build our immunity and keep our immune systems very strong and tight while we're handling this part of us. I heard an interesting study recently, and I'm pretty sure this is in the actual science, this is in the real science category, that this particular virus, the coronavirus, has a very hard shell, an unusually hard shell. and that's why it lives for such a long time on surfaces. Some of them have like a weaker shell, a weaker protein shell, and so they die quickly. They are easily killed by, you know, antiviral, antibacterial soap or whatever. They're not very strong. And this one is unusually strong. So it's hard, that's why it lives for a long time on surfaces. And the other thing that's interesting about this particular virus is that it has these big spikes, and we've all seen the picture a million times of what this one looks like. But those spikes are they're very heavily charged with, you know, they have a high valence to them. So there's a high electrical bond to them. And so they have a lot of energy, and so it takes a lot to break them down. And that's why like really high doses of things like vitamin C can be very helpful with that, because it's an antioxidant, and it also breaks the bond that where those spikes go into and actually penetrate your cells. That's what the problem with this virus is. Those spikes go in and they penetrate the weaker parts of our body, like the mucous membranes, the epithelial cells, and that's why people are having lung and gut issues, because those parts of us are vulnerable to the spikes on this virus. So there are people who are treating with great effect this virus with high doses of vitamin C intravenous vitamin C. They're doing this in California, they're doing this in the UK, and some other parts of the country for people who are sick. And there has been an enormous body of research that says that high doses of vitamin C are incredibly good at clearing lots of different kinds of viruses and lots of different kinds of infections too. So bacterial infections. So I don't know what to make of that. It's not like we can go to our local emergency room and get that, but there are more and more. So I just read recently, I think yesterday, that they're using this in California, and it's working quite well. So the other thing that I think want to add in here is we talked about electromagnetic energy, and we talked about solar energy, which is sometimes called scalar energy. So this is theory and theory and science together. But I did a Facebook Live with this man who's, I think, quite brilliant. His name is Tom Palladino, and he uses scalar wave, so scalar light, which is not the same as electromagnetic frequency. Scalar light is basically like sunlight, so it's photonic light, and he says it comes from the stars, from the sun. It's what the sun is made out of, and there are a lot of interesting theories now that this solar energy, or this light, this photonic light energy, is really like at the backbone of what our universe is made out of, you know, and that this scalar light, when it's properly channeled, is also very effective at killing the virus and boosting our immune system and creating overall health in general, and that it works a lot into the RNA, into the mitochondria, which are designed to absorb that particular kind of frequency rather than electromagnetic frequency. And he has a scalar wave generating machine, so it's a device that generates scalar wave, and he's figured out a way to send this wave long distance using a photograph. And he's working now, I think, with millions of people, including myself. So I met him at a expo here in the Boston area in November, and I was very impressed with him and his device. And I don't know, way before this virus came, I think it was early December or late December, I signed up for a year of the scalar wave. I bought a year of it, and I'm like, that's cool. Like, I want that. And here I am, and it kills coronavirus. Right now, he has a free 30-day free trial that you can go. It's called freescalar.net, and you can go on there and you can upload a picture of yourself and 6 other people, so you can get your family on there. I have my parents on there, my kids there, and he says that he's successfully treated scalar and quite a lot of people who have come down with it and recovered quite quickly. And this is one of those ones, like, I believe in it because I've done my research, but I want you to do your research. I want you to do your due diligence and see if it feels right to you. Look at his stuff. He takes the PCR tests he works a lot with people that are AIDS, living with AIDS, in Africa and India, and he works some blood work through independent labs, and you can see the before and after labs after they receive 4 months of scalar. It's quite compelling, but he can't get anyone over here to take him seriously and like do peer reviews on his work and things like that, which is too bad because I think he's on to something. But I want you to check it out for yourself and see if it feels right. And you can look at the interview that I did with him, and it's just, I don't know, I offer it to you because I feel like it helps me a lot. The other thing that's super important to consider when we're dealing with our immune system, and particularly viruses, is the pH balance of your body. So viruses don't like to thrive in an alkaline environment. So a pH balance or towards the alkaline, it's not a hospitable environment for them. Viruses have sort of and all pathogens actually have sort of a narrow band of, they're opportunistic, and there's kind of a narrow band of circumstances that they need to live, and they prefer to live in. So one of the things you can do for your overall health, and also in this time to strengthen your immune system and your overall vitality, is to think about where you are in the pH balance. And you can get test strips. Like I ordered some off Amazon, I don't know, 6 months ago, and you just lick the test and you put it on your mouth, and it'll show you like the red or blue, like where you are on the scale there, to give yourself some data on where you actually are and not just guess, right? I think that's important. And then changing so mine was acid, which wasn't horrible, but it was on the acidic side, which wasn't a surprise to me because it's mostly about food. It's mostly about the food that we eat. So like I probably drink too much coffee. Sadly, all the fun foods are acid causing, create an acidic environment. So coffee, sugar, any white flour, mostly any white food, processed foods, chemical foods tend to put us into the acidic side of things. And then if we want to alkalize our body, we know there are things we can do. We can drink a lot of water. We can drink special alkaline water, which is all around all the time, smart water and things like that are alkaline, have alkalining agents in them. We can eat a lot of greens. We can cut out. So you basically have to cut out the acidifying foods, and you eat more, consume more of the alkalizing foods. And juicing helps. Eating greens help. You can kind of cheat the system too in a really easy way by taking a small amount of bicarbonate of soda twice a day, wee little amounts, like an 1/8 of a teaspoon or something like that. Oh yeah, so Aaron wants to know, does that include infrared saunas? Infrared saunas are interesting. They do alkalize the body. I don't know if they work on scalar. I don't think they do. I think they're electromagnetic, but it's a good question. I know they're alkalizing, and they're very good if you have a poor immune system, if you have an autoimmune system, if you have a weak immune system. Infrared saunas are spectacularly good for you. So I think if you can get one, if you can get into one right now, I would do it a lot. So great question, Aaron. Thank you. So if you feel like you want to handle the pH thing, which I really think we should sort of cover every avenue here and trying to stay healthy, look up, get some test strips, see where you fall in that range, and then look up the alkalizing diet to find out more about it. And again, total medical disclaimer there, like that would be ideally you would work with a nutritionist, or you would work with your physician, a functional medicine doctor, to really help you work through that, make sure that you're doing it in a smart way. And there's certain fasting can alkalize you. Sometimes people do juice fasts. There's a doctor called Mark Hyman. He was a doctor in Lenox, Massachusetts at the Canyon Ranch for a really long time, and he has written a lot about the alkalizing diet, how to do it, and he's really great. And he's also a doctor who specializes in longevity and how do we live healthily as we go on aging. So check all of that stuff out and see if you feel called to do any of it. I want to talk a little bit to you about the energy field that we have around us. So our energy field has like a lot of different layers to it. And so our energy field is like the energy, our life force energy, our soul energy, whatever you want to call it, our chi that extends beyond our physical body and radiates out. For most people, it's about arm's length out, so it can be that sort of normal. Some people have a contracted one and it's around there. Empaths tend to have a expanded energy field, so it can be quite bigger than your arm's reach. And as we shrink our energy field, it gets more dense. So people that have a shrinkier one, it can be quite dense, like sort of like jello or like that consistency. Normal out here, it's like it's thick but not really hard. And then as your energy field gets bigger, it gets more diffuse and sort of shakier. So one of the things that's really good to do when we're working through with and the reason really that I want you to know this is that the outside edge of our energy field, the outer or boundary layer, is the part of our energy anatomy that corresponds to our immune system, right? So it's like I said this before, it's like your skin, you know. So we have our skin, which covers our body, and when it keeps all the yucky pathogens, bad germs out. And when we have a breach in our skin, those things get in and we can get an infection. And the outer edge of your energy field is like the energetic version of that. And because of the porous nature of most empaths, we have a problem, you know? I really like, I see this layer a lot when I do energy work with people. So I'm like always looking at people's energy fields, and it's a super fascinating topic to me. And I've seen, like, sometimes I think about a 5-layer model where I can see 5 layers to the energy field. In the energy medicine school that I teach in, we work with a 7-layer energy field, 7 layers, one each corresponding to the chakras. And I can see that too. Some people say there are 12 layers to the energy field. Somebody told me once there's 72 layers to the energy field. I can only perceive these 5 or these 7. And it, like I said, it's interesting because it's interesting to us in this conversation because most people have a lot of problems with their energy field. This doesn't always look good to me. And part of the reason is that, especially that boundary layer, that outer layer, is very impacted by trauma. So when we have unhealed trauma, especially childhood trauma, it tends to shred or rip the outer edge of energy field. It really weakens it. And you can think about that. It's another reason to really work on clearing up your trauma, which we talked about last night. But when your boundaries have been violated, especially as a young person, it creates a weakness in the boundary layer of your energy field, which allows in easily other boundary violations. And so I see a huge correlation, by the way, between early childhood abuse, especially physical abuse or sexual abuse. And the earlier you are when it happens, the more of an impact it has on our whole being, but certainly our energy field too. It creates a weakness. So that boundary violation creates a weakness in the energy field that creates an opening for other sort of invading energy. So sometimes people that have that are like, as adults, they grow up and that continues to happen to them. They get assaulted as a teenager or as an adult, or they just kind of attract really difficult energy vampire people who are always invading their space, because it's like when we have a breach in the fence, it attracts like those kind of people, like sniff that out. They can find it, right? And then I also see a correlation between that kind of invading, having been invaded and having a weakness in a way to be invaded again, creates an opening for viruses, especially the retroviruses like herpes, Epstein-Barr virus, those kinds of things that once you get them, they linger around. It's really hard to ever get rid of them. And it also creates an opening for invaders like Lyme disease. I live in New England here, and I think that pretty much Lyme is so, talk about a pandemic. Wow. Lyme is so prevalent in this area that I really think everyone in New England has been exposed to Lyme. I don't know. This is my theory. I don't know if it's true, but I'm sure I have. I'm probably have Lyme, spirochetes in me right now. And yet my immune system is strong enough that they fight it off, or I have never succumbed to it. I've never gotten it, where you go down underneath it. But I see a correlation for the people who go down with it and really contract it and can't get rid of it, to those same people that have these boundaries, outer layer of the energy fields that are weakened by early childhood abuse of that kind, and when it hasn't been fully processed. So what we're going to do today, and it's really important to think about, how do we keep this part of us strong? And it's a lot of what we've already been talking about. When we're dealing with auric health, or the health of your energy field, the things that keep your regular health strong really work. So clean living, eating right, exercise, getting plenty of sleep, meditating, dealing with your stress, handling your emotions, all these things tend to create healing, cleaning up your trauma, all of that, handling your feelings, create a strong and healing energy field. And the opposite is true. So when we don't do that, when we don't breathe very well, we have a lot of stress, we don't handle things, we eat a lot of crappy food, we tend to further weaken this part of our energy field. So I put that out there to you, and I see people's energy fields in all kinds of different states, and they can be repairable. We're going to do a meditation a little bit later that will help you repair yours. It's very cool. So think about that. And the other thing that's interesting too about this boundary layer is that it's susceptible to substances. So for example, alcohol tends to blur or fuzz the outer edge of your energy field. So if you're spongy, and you drink a lot, or you drink more than like a little bit, it gets fuzzy, it gets fuzzier, it gets more porous, it gets less solid. And I wonder in a way if that's sort of what, and then you have to think about where you're drinking. Like, are you drinking in a skeevy place where there's yucky energy? Are you in a club? Are you in a divey bar? That's not a good recipe for somebody who's sensitive, because you're compromising this boundary layer. So the boundary layer of the energy field is like your first line of defense. It's your first boundary between you and the world, and you're compromising it in a place where maybe it doesn't have great energy. Bars are notoriously full of dark energy. They're haunted. They're full of entities. They're full of unhappy people. So we have to be a little mindful. And then sometimes recreational drugs can really impact the outside edge of this energy field too. Not for everybody, but for some people, I have seen habitual or addictive sort of pot smoking, marijuana smoking can also shred the outer edge, or really rip a hole in this part of our energy field. And I also think cannabis can be very healthy and very healing for some people. I think it's when we sort of lean into it in the more of the addiction side of it that this happens, that the rip happens. And I've seen that so many times in people who go paranoid. If you're having a good time, your cannabis is fine until you have that one time or that one strain of cannabis where you go completely paranoid. It's probably because it ripped a hole in your defenses, and then you're like, I don't feel safe. So just consider that, and consider what you need to do. How do we need to shore this part of us up right now in this time that we live in? So now we're going to talk about another thing that's a big topic here, and some of the science and some of it's, conspiracy theory or unconfirmed theories that I have that I can't back up by science. But this is to really think about how electromagnetic frequency, electromagnetic radiation impacts the outer edge of our energy field. And for some empaths are so sensitive to this. And we get EMF radiation, electromagnetic frequency radiation, from things like cell phones, from computers, from the fluorescent lights that we have, and particularly from Wi-Fi. and really highly sensitive empaths with the already weakened boundary layer and weak immune systems can really be taken out by Wi-Fi, even normal Wi-Fi, even the kind of, and we, you know, we live sadly now in sort of this radiation soup. You know, we have a part of a chemical soup. We also have part of a radiation soup. So we have Wi-Fi, we have microwaves, we have radio waves, we have smart everything. Smart, you know, anything that has smart in it has a lot of EMF radiation and a lot of Wi-Fi. And this can really impact us and has been for a while. But now it's even worse with 5G. So here's another topic that I want you to do your own research on. There's a lot of theories, there's some science, there's some conspiracy theories, and somewhere in the middle of all that is a nugget that it feels true to me. What that is for me is that there's a lot of support for this too, that 5G is very, very, very bad for our physical bodies, and especially to our energy fields, so this boundary layer of our energy fields into our immune system. So 5G has a shorter, more intense wave, like 4G and the ones we've had has sort of a low, long wave, and it's not as penetrating. This 5G has a short, sharp wave, which is actually, they chose it because it penetrates concrete. And that's good for Wi-Fi in the city. Like if you have a lot of concrete buildings and concrete and buildings and things like that, steel and all the things that we have in cities now, we're blocking the Wi-Fi, the 4G, 3G generations of Wi-Fi and not giving very good coverage. And people were complaining. We have more devices than ever now. So the powers that be, whoever makes these decisions, decided 5G would be a great idea because it has this penetrating wave. However, it's 60 gigahertz that we're dealing with 5G. And the problem with that, first of all, it's been used as a bioweapon by the military, as a crowd control bioweapon by the military, who put it into a laser beam and use it on crowd control because it makes people feel like they're boiling or burning on the inside and they run away from it. I don't know where that happened, but you can look up the research on that one because that's for real. And this 60 gigahertz wave utilized by 5G is actually absorbed by oxygen molecules that are around it. And what that does is it makes the electrons in the oxygen unable to bond with hemoglobin in our blood, and that transports oxygen to the cells, right? So oxygen molecules that absorb that wave are not available for us to breathe. And, you know, being around, there's a lot of reports as 5G gets rolled out more and more, that those waves are sort of heavy. They create this sort of unable to breathe, pressure on the chest, can't breathe. Sounds a little bit like coronavirus, doesn't it? And I went in this kind of really, you know, thought, I don't know the answer to this one, so I don't know if it's true or not, but I went down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out, is there a coincidence or correlation or more than that to the fact that this virus has hit very hard in some of the places where 5G is being rolled out citywide. Wuhan, China being one of the first places in the world that rolled out a citywide 5G network. They're very proud of it. And the other thing that I think is true about this virus, although I cannot give you any scientific data to back this up because I just couldn't find any, but it feels right to me, is that this particular virus, the coronavirus, COVID-19, thrives in a higher CO2 and carbon monoxide environment, which is basically pollution. So viruses are by nature opportunistic, and they thrive in certain niches where they thrive. And this one seems to thrive in a higher carbon dioxide, monoxide environment. So I don't know. Is it true that conspiracy theorists will tell you, I don't know, and it's not proved by science that I can back it up, but I don't know if it's true. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, that the places that the coronavirus has really thrived are places where there have been high levels of air pollution and 5G. Wuhan, Milan, which is a very industrial city, and in fact all of northern Italy had high pollution levels and 5G. Washington State, where they got the first bloom of that, has also 5G, and so does New York City. What happens then is, everyone goes inside and the pollution stops, and I wonder, in the air, there's more air, there's more oxygen. Like, some of these cities haven't been clean in a long time. They have terrible air pollution, particularly Wuhan and Milan. And then the virus fades. Is it a correlation? Is it a coincidence? I don't know, but I'm certainly interested about that and sort of tracking the trend there, to see whether there's something in it. And I just don't know the answer, but I do know that we're going to have a problem with 5G, and it's not a good thing. Yeah, like Mark says, it's not a good thing to be consistently exposed to it. It has sort of a microwave-like wave to it, so it's kind of like nuking yourself when you have that. So yeah, Nancy says I've been worried for a while. It's been hitting my psychic radar, like it's not going to be a good thing for quite some time. There are things you can do. So to protect yourself from Wi-Fi, and particularly 5G, turn your router off at night. You can get actually a containment around your router. It's sort of like a lead box you put around your router to prevent it from leaking radiation. Don't sleep with your phone next to your head. If you're like, don't be like my kids who, I go in there, when they go in their rooms and their phones are like this because they've fallen asleep talking to their friends. Don't do that. Don't even talk on your phone like that. Get a device so you can put your phone over there and have an earbud or something. Be careful where you carry your phone in your pocket. Keep it in your purse or keep it off your body if you possibly can. Use an EMF shield, which I have for years and years. I use one called the Q-Link, and it's the letter Q-A-L-I-N-K, Q-Link, yeah. And it looks like this, and I don't know, I actually can't tell you. It's got a little copper coil in the back. I can't tell you really what they have a proprietary technology, so I'm not sure what is in it. But I did notice, and I'll send it out to you guys, notice that they're having a buy one, get one free sale right now. And that you can get one for basically $100, $99. And I've had mine for over 10 years, the same one. And I basically never take it off because I do feel like not only does it protect me from the EMF radiation, but the Q-Link has like a particular way of cutting down the psychic noise, the psychic static. It makes your energy field, the outside edge of your energy field, a little stronger. So while it creates its own shield, it generates its own field that is pretty harmonious with our biology. And when we wear that, it can sort of pump up the resiliency of our energy fields while we're trying to work on them. So I really am a big fan, and they are having another buy one, get one. They've never done that. They did it earlier this year and are doing it again, so I'll pass that around for you guys. And then it's really much harder actually to find things that block 5G. I don't know that much. There's a stone you can get. It's called shungite, sort of a black dense stone. There's some other devices that are around, and I can't recommend one for you because I haven't tried them, so I don't know. But I would say that we probably really need to keep up with looking at things that that may be shielding us from 5G. Because I don't know, many countries have banned 5G, and lots of European countries. So most of the European Union has just refused to roll it out, and they just don't know whether it's safe or not. And some people will tell you, well, the science guys that studied it are the ones that the cell phone companies hired. So are they really in our best interest? We don't really know. So the last thing here I want to talk about before we get into our meditation to sort of pump up your energy field here is that I got this this is channeled information. I don't know if it's true, but I think it's interesting, is that viruses have a hive mind as well. So we've been talking a lot about the hive mind of humanity. And a virus has a hive mind too. And a virus has like a personal self, just like we've been talking about, and a hive mind self. And the personal self of the virus is very basic. It's like reproduce, 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 reproduce. That's what it's doing. And the soul, or the hive mind of the virus, is really connected to our evolution. And this one's the person that I know who's a healer, who's been speaking to this, the hive mind, the consciousness of this virus, has told me that its purpose is to create a situation where we go back into harmony with the earth, you know? So many of us are doing that. We're doing it in small ways, like walking every day and calming down and getting off our busy life, reconnecting with it. Maybe we grow a garden. Maybe we put plants in our house. Maybe we get a greenhouse. And we're unpolluting the world a little bit. And it's that sort of that meme that went around the internet for a while, like the world has sent us to our room to give us time to think about what we've done. That's the point of this virus, or that and also that it, what I notice is because it attacks the lungs, the heart chakra, it really, I know there's biological reasons and immunological reasons why some people get it. There's also 2 strains of the virus, by the way, strain S and strain L. And one of them is very mild, and I think is more responsible for the milder versions of the case. The other one is extremely virulent and deadly. And so I don't hear people talk. I got that information. That's actual science. I got that information from somebody I know who works in the CDC. And I don't know why they're not talking about it widely. If you look it up, you'll find it, because the CDC put out a report on it. And the other interesting thing about this virus is it mutates very quickly. So it's a slippery virus. That's what they call viruses that mutate. It's highly contagious. It lives a long time on surfaces, and it mutates easily. That's not really so great, but I do think it's interesting. So I hope that at some point they begin to track which strain of the virus who has, because I feel like one really will kill you and the other one won't. But I do think it's interesting that it comes to the heart. And what happens when we have something here is it really will, a virus that gets into our lungs, asks us to look at grief, to look at unprocessed grief, to open our hearts. So this is not the personal virus, which is just wanting to reproduce, but the hive mind of the virus, which is about asking us to get into our heart, to evolve into our heart and live from our heart, be in our heart. And it's happening a lot when we look at how people are having to respond. You're stuck at home with your spouse. It might be for the next month. You might be forced to deal with your issues and come back into your heart. You're with your kids in a way that might actually require that we come here and actually deal with things that we've been putting off. So there's some really interesting opportunities, I think, that go with that. Where does this all get us? I think it gets us to the place where we really need to optimize our health and really, pump up our immune system, open our hearts, live from that space, really have nice, tight energy fields, and do all the things that doctors tell you to do. Definitely, that's going to be important to keep your vibration really high. So from that point, I want to, Renee says her son was posting signs and telephone poles last year to alert people of 5G installs at the school. Yeah, it's kind of a thing. And I don't know what's going to happen. I wonder if part of the function of this higher side of the virus is to ask us to take another look at whether or not we want to really come out in a blind way or an unconscious way or in an evil way with technology that's going to be so harmful, so carcinogenic and harmful for people. Maybe this is giving us an opportunity to choose another path, okay? But let's do this is a immune boosting meditation, totally brand new, another new one that I made up just for you guys. It's been downloaded to me and it's really fun. I've been doing it every day. So let's do it. So we're going to start with our normal grounding that we've been practicing for a while. So if you can, arms and legs uncrossed, feet on the floor, or you can sit cross-legged, that's fine too, but don't lie down. If you can, spine upright, and just take that moment to just say hello to yourself. Here you are again. Here we are again. How do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? Like, I'm noticing I feel tight. My heart feels a little tight and a little painful. I'm could be more grounded. So I'm just going to hang with that and start my breathing. So take a nice deep breath. Breathe in the top of your head. Breathe to your heart in your belly. And on the exhale breath, bring that energy down your legs, out the bottoms of your feet. Find your body. Remember, you have a body. Feel the bones. Feel the heavy bones of your arms and legs, the rib cage. Feel the dense bones of your legs holding you upright. And sometimes just feeling our bones and really honoring them can help us ground more. So you want to breathe again. Breathe light into your belly and your heart. Exhale down, and on this exhale breath, let's find the grounding cord. Connect to the grounding cord. Feel your tailbone and spine extending, your legs extending down, down, down through the layers of the building. Right to the center of the planet. Get it as far down as you can and make the grounding cord really wide. We're going to take a few clearing breaths, so breathe light in, fill yourself up with light, and on the exhale, just squeeze the sponge. Release any tension, tightness, feelings. Let them all go down with a prayer, with a blessing into the earth. And breathe one more like that. Just releasing any of your own feelings down the grounding cord. And now that you're feeling a little more centered, I want you to bring your bring your attention and awareness to your third eye. And I want you to find, like, you can imagine closing your eyes and like looking through your third eye. This tends to activate the pineal gland. So we're going to work with the pineal gland right now. And it's a little gland. It's like the size of a walnut, and it's right at the center of your brain. And on your next inhale breath, I want you to breathe into your pineal gland. And I want you to turn it on, like light it up like it's a little light bulb. Imagine, pretend, visualize that the light of God, the light of divine light is coming into your pineal gland and turning it on like a light bulb. And as it turns on, the light in there is going to spread to the cells, the brain cells, the blood cells around it. Like, you can imagine like light radiating out of your pineal gland. And every cell that gets touched by this light turns on like another little light bulb. And that cell turns on. And then that's going to touch every other cell. So I want you to, on your inhale breath, breathe into your pineal gland. You can breathe in the top of your head, right to the space behind your eyes. Light up that, and then on the exhale, let the light cascade through your whole body. Let it turn on the light in every cell and all of your blood cells, and let your blood carry it through your entire body. Let the light come to your muscle cells, the organ cells. Let it fill your chest now, your throat. And now into your stomach and your arms, and let it go into every organ. And as it's going down now into your legs and into your feet, out to your skin, through your muscle, maybe it's going into the cell. Let that light go into the cell and light up the nucleus of the cell. Let it light up the mitochondria, which is the part of the cell that holds light. So let this light from the pineal gland turn on the light in the mitochondria of every single cell in your body. So you should be glowing like a giant light bulb right now. And this light, you might feel it as, so we're working with photonic light. Let it stimulate the electrical current in your body too. And everywhere the light touches, if there's any harmful pathogen, bacteria, fungus, virus, spirochete, parasite, it's going to zap it with your intention to bring you into optimal health in this moment, to activate your immune cells. So let's bring light right to your entire immune system, your thymus gland. So I want you to bring the light from your pineal gland now down to your thymus gland. It's this walnut-shaped sized gland right under your breastbone. Now breathe light in the top of your head. Breathe to this thymus gland. In the energy medicine school, we call it the spiritual life purpose point. But let the light awaken your thymus gland, awaken your immune system. And imagine and pretend, visualize light radiating out of your thymus gland, radiating out of your pineal gland. Activating your T cells, activating all the different parts of your immune system, turning it on full, zapping any bug, any virus, any harmful bacteria, any harmful fungus. We need a lot of them to stay alive. We coexist peacefully with a lot of them. Those can stay. Anything that's not for your highest interest is going to go. Now I want you to take a really deep breath, and I want you to breathe into your pineal gland and into your thymus gland, and let the light extend now like the glow of a light bulb past your skin and out into your energy field. Let it move out through your whole, it's sort of a, for me, it feels like staticky almost. It's a powerful energy, and it's going to move right to the outer edge of your energy field. So every inhale breath, you're going to breathe light into your pineal gland and into your thymus gland, and then let that light come out and let it heal the outer edge of your energy field. Let that light fill in any gaps, fill in any holes, fill in any missing pieces of the outer edge of your energy field. And then we're going to ask the light to stay there and act like a bug zapper. To zap any bugs, to zap any harmful energy, anything that's not harmonious with you, anything that's not supportive for you, anything that's poisonous or toxic or not in your best interest. Any invader, any pathogen, it's going to get zapped. Take a few breaths like this. Just allow that energy to work through all the cells, into the DNA, into the mitochondria, out into your energy field. Let it repair, let it fix. Don't forget, behind you, under your feet, over your head. Now take a deep breath in, breathing into your heart and your belly. And if any extra energy you have, if it feels really intense or really staticky, you're going to release that energy down the grounding cord. So we're going to ground it into the earth. We're going to give the earth back some energy with this extra, if you have any. So take a few grounding breaths, release any extra energy you have running through your system now down the grounding cord with the blessing and the healing for the earth. And when you feel ready, begin to bring yourself back to your body. Feel your body again. Push your feet into the floor. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you feel ready, open your eyes.